In this video, I will be speaking about the first attempts of retrieving the octennial year of healing that in our time we called the Aun Ceremony. It is the most important celebration for all people who lean towards Nordic traditional knowledge and animism. And I'm just going to talk a little bit about the process that we had around 2023, the year of the Aun healing ceremony. And I'll also talk a little bit about the next Aun year, which is 2031. This is the Nordic Animism channel, where I try to recover forward traditional knowledge of North European animism. My name is Rune Hjarnø, I'm a scholar of religion, and I'm bringing you my work here on Nordic Animism for free. But remember that I also need to eat. So do consider, if you value my work so much that you'd buy me a beer if we were meeting in town and had a chat, you can actually do that by joining my Patreon. And stay tuned, because very soon there will be a possible pre-order of a small book where I'm talking about this on this channel. And also don't forget to hit the subscribe and the bell and all those tings-tongs there. It really helps, and it allows me to continue making my scholarship available to the public. I sensed from the very beginning that the initiative to take back the octennial ceremony of healing had a strong resonance with people. Probably because of the deep meanings of this ritual that emerged through many dialogues that played out around the Aun ceremony and the Aun year. My original idea was actually to just write a section about the Aun celebration in my book on calendar that you can also find on my web shop with wall calendar and all these kind of things. But boy, it was so good that I followed my intuition and left that out. I did that because I felt that the realization of this particular recovery of calendar culture, that it would be best if it was a communal thing, that the thinking of how to retrieve or recover Aun ceremony shouldn't just be one idiosyncratic voice. So from the late 2021 throughout 2022 and also in 2023 proper, a lot of debates have played out in many different fora and platforms, and these dialogues have been incredibly rich with realizations and insight and emergence, I think, of traditional knowledge attached to this complex. So this has been inspired by these dialoguing methods of handling knowledge that some indigenous scholars are actually spearheading today. You see this from, for instance, Robin Kimmerer and Tyson Junkerporter. They develop knowledge and communicate knowledge as this very communal process, that what they're saying is emerging through dialogues rather than from, the solitary contemplation of some socially detached thinker. And this way of generating knowledge as communal, I think, is a decisive step away from this Eurocentric Descartes model that is expressed in cogito ergo sum. I think, therefore I am, the motto often associated with Descartes. But with this indigenous knowledge handling, we are stepping towards the call to connectivity in our time, which is more than I think, therefore I am, it becomes I relate, therefore I am. Or perhaps with more precision, the Zulu saying umuntu ngumuntu ngabantu, which is sometimes translated into a person is a person through other people, right? And I think that the call to the Aun ceremony very much developed on that basis as a communal, basically mycelium of dialogues that has opened this new culture. The point of the Aun ceremony is a call for healing of those abusive patterns that characterize our age, that we are in a sense like Aun, the worst imaginable ancestors, imaged by this decrepit old king who's lying paralyzed in endless consumer comfort, nourished by this cannibal system that feeds on his own descendants. And like the good people of Sweden in this ancient myth, we must call on the death of this predatory omnicidal system that feeds on the future generations. We must cyclically return to call on Aun's death to heal the world. Like the Swedes in the myth, we must refuse complicity with this violent system of complacency. They said no to Aun the Old, continuing his deeply unnatural, egotistical sacrificing of his own children, his own descendants, for the sake of his own narcissistic comfort. And Aun died, thereby renewing the world for another 8-year cycle. So people around the world have been honoring the Aun Year throughout 2023. In their different locations and in their different ways, they have lit fires and toasted and carved figures and planted trees for the death of Aun and for the renewal of our world. Many have called on the healing under the auspices of the Aun rune of 2023, a symbol that signifies the alignment between the sun and the moon that calls on the Aun year. These two runes symbolize the cycles of the sun, the solar number, and the cycle of the moon, the golden number of the moon rhyme of this year. It's basically a traditional calendar expression of that year. And the sun and the moon falls into alignment in the darkest time at the beginning of the Aun year. So the relation between the cycles of life, the cycles of light, is metaphorically healed, you could say, at the opening of an Aun year. So this perspective on the Aun year as a healing ceremony is very much something that has emerged in dialogues between kind-hearted anti-racist heathens and people attracted to Nordic Animism and indigenous voices like particularly Týrsmál, who gave some vital input for how to think with this and how to understand with this. And I think it is part of the beauty and the power of this ceremony that it is not just, the brain bog of one weird dude, but that it comes from a community effort. It grows from a community effort of people talking about these things, debating, sharing, coming up with new ideas, sometimes arguing about this stuff. There's even a black metal album coming out, actually, unfolding aspects of the Aun theme. It's the band Next Aun, whose lead singer Joshua Root was actually the guy who suggested the name Aun for our contemporary recovery of these octennial celebrations. So if you are into that kind of music, I recommend keeping an eye out for it. I very much hope that the next time that there is an Aun year, which is in 2031, that then we will have even more celebration and even more calling for healing. And yes, as I'm making this here in early 2024, the next Aun year is 8 years from now. It is 2031. This octennial cycle is based on what is sometimes called an inclusive counting. That's why it's 2031 and not 2032. 2023 was year 8 of the last cycle of 8 years. A year whose lunar cycle began with the new moon close to the winter solstice of December 23 of the previous year. The important new moon is the one that comes just after the winter solstice. But in our Gregorian calendar, the year doesn't begin on the winter solstice, it begins on New Year's Eve. So the moon that opens a lunisolar year will sometimes fall in the previous year in the Gregorian calendar, because it will fall before our Gregorian New Year's Eve, which falls about 10 days after the winter solstice. So the lunisolar year will sometimes open before our normal New Year's Eve. Right, so we are now in 2024 as I'm making this. And that is a year one of our counting up to the next Aun Year. And I'm just going to show you the runes that mark 2024 here. This is the solar number and the moon rune of this year. And note that there are two solar numbers because this is a leap year, and you can check out all my material on calendar to figure out more about that. So this 2024 is year 1, right? So 2025 is year 2. 2026 is year 3. 2027 year 4. 2028 year 5. 2029 year 6. 2030 is year 7, and 2031 is year 8, where the whole octennial cycle has passed, and then the new moon will again fall close to the winter solstice on December 24 of the previous year. So the solar and the lunar year will again begin together in alignment in 2031. The moon and the sun is falling into sync, like they're being born together from the darkness. It is that cosmic healing that we need to call manifest in ceremony. In this 8-year cycle, the lunar and the solar cycles will move out of sync and sometimes a little bit back into sync again, and then they fall back into alignment with the new moon that opens the year 2031. It falls on December 24th of 2030. That is the new moon that opens 2031. And you'll notice here that the runes that mark the next year of healing, that is the Wraith rune, which marks the Sundays throughout 2031, and the Tvimother rune, which is one of those runes that are specific for the Swedish calendar Futhark, which marks the moons, the new moons throughout 2031. These are the runes that mark the alignment between the sun and the moon in 2031. Cool. So there's a whole playlist on this channel about the Aun Year, and you are welcome, of course, to check the whole thing out. Just keep in mind that all the talk is kind of aiming at the last Aun Year, the one that has already passed when you're watching this video, which is 2023. And when you're seeing this video, we are talking about the coming Aun Years, probably about 2031. Unless, of course, you're seeing the video after 2031. So, as mentioned, I've been working on a small book which sums up all the dialogues and all the consideration and all the analytical processes that were connected to the recovery and the disclosing of meanings, re-engaging the Aun ceremony throughout 2022 and 2023. And this little book, it represents all these thoughts, dialogues and considerations that played out around this Aun Year. So it's a small book, it's only around 110 pages, but with a lot of images in it. And very soon, somewhere from late January 2024, sometime, this book can be pre-ordered or ordered in my web shop. And we're aiming for it to be finished in early to mid February 2024 in a format that basically matches exactly the calendar book, just to show that this is kind of a sequel. But there are also some graphic amendments, hopefully making it a little bit more pleasing to the eye, a lot of images and so on. So check out my web shop or the link with this video to pre-order this little book, this little Aun book that will very soon be there. And keep the upcoming Aun Year in mind. It is the most important celebration for all people who lean towards Nordic traditional knowledge and animism. So all the power to all the relations, and see you around.